Most people will hear, Jupiter went direct today, and move on without understanding what that actually means for their life. Don't be one of them. Because what happened at 3:30 this morning isn't just a routine planetary shift. It's one of the rarest Jupiter activations in over a decade. Jupiter is currently in Cancer, and Cancer is the only sign in the zodiac where Jupiter reaches its exaltation, its single most powerful state of operation. That means the forward motion available today isn't average. It isn't subtle. It's amplified at a level that most people only encounter once every 12 years. There are 8 things you need to know before this portal peaks. The first thing you must know is why this Jupiter direct hits differently than any other. Not every Jupiter direct is equal. Some years, when Jupiter stations direct, the shift is subtle, a quiet gear change most people barely register. This is not one of those times. And the reason this particular direct is different comes down to one specific astrological fact that almost nobody is explaining clearly enough. In classical astrology, a planet is exalted when it operates in the sign where its natural qualities reach their highest, most refined expression. And Cancer is that sign for Jupiter. Every planet has a home sign where it's comfortable, and a sign of exaltation where it's powerful in a different, deeper way. Jupiter in its exaltation doesn't just function well, it functions at its absolute peak. When Jupiter stations direct in any other sign, it's significant. When Jupiter stations direct while exalted in Cancer, the forward momentum available isn't just strong, it's amplified at a level most people only experience once every 12 years. The opportunities that begin forming today don't just crack open. They open with a force proportional to the work you've done inside yourself over the last 4 months. Think of it like a river that's been dammed. The water didn't stop moving. It built pressure. It deepened. It widened. And the moment that dam releases, what flows isn't a trickle. It's the full volume of everything that was waiting. That's what today is. That's what Jupiter exalted in Cancer moving direct actually means. Some of you have been waiting for something to break loose for so long that you've quietly started assuming nothing would. You've been patient when patience felt like losing. You've kept going when going felt pointless. And today, the pressure behind everything you've been holding is finally finding its release. This isn't ordinary momentum returning. This is the most powerful version of Jupiter, unlocking the most personal areas of your life. And it's happening right now. The second thing you need to know is what 4 months in Cancer actually did to you. Before you can fully receive what Jupiter direct is bringing, there's something important you need to understand about the journey you just completed. Because the retrograde you just came out of wasn't like the others, and what it did to you during those 4 months is the very reason today means something real. On November 11th, 2025, Jupiter stationed retrograde at 25 degrees Cancer. That was the beginning of a 4-month inward journey that had nothing to do with planning your career or organizing your goals. Jupiter retrograde in Cancer was about something much harder, much quieter, and much more fundamental than any external strategy. It was about emotional excavation. Cancer rules the deepest parts of your interior world, your sense of home, your relationship with safety, your family patterns, the emotional agreements you made with yourself long ago about what you deserve and how much you're allowed to want. During the retrograde, Jupiter turned its lens inward on all of that. It asked you to examine what you've outgrown. It surfaced the places where you'd been seeking safety in the wrong people, the wrong environments, the wrong versions of yourself. Some of you felt that as grief. Some of you felt it as confusion. Some of you felt completely unmoored, like the things that used to feel stable suddenly weren't, and the things you thought you wanted stopped feeling worth chasing. That wasn't Jupiter breaking you. That was Jupiter clearing the foundation so something real could actually be built. Here's what most people miss. You don't emerge from a Cancer retrograde the same way you enter it. You emerge with a different emotional map. You exit with a clearer sense of who you are at your core. Beneath the performance, beneath the expectations, beneath the version of yourself you've been maintaining for other people. The 4 months just completed rewired your emotional baseline. And Jupiter Direct is about to show you exactly what that new baseline is capable of building. You didn't just wait through a retrograde. You were being rebuilt from the inside out. The third thing is the emotional truth test Jupiter is running right now. Here's something about Jupiter in Cancer that changes how you need to understand today's energy. And this is the part that most people completely overlook because they're too focused on what Jupiter Direct is going to bring them externally. The opportunities, the breakthroughs, the momentum. Jupiter in Cancer doesn't reward performance, it rewards authenticity. Every other Jupiter placement has a different currency. Jupiter in Gemini rewards information and communication. Jupiter in Capricorn rewards discipline and strategy. But Jupiter in Cancer operates by one standard above all others, and that standard is emotional honesty. What this means practically is that the expansion available today will not flow toward the version of yourself you've been presenting to the world. It will flow toward the version of you that actually shows up in the quiet moments. The choices you make when no one is watching, the way you treat yourself when you're alone, the things you reach for and the things you hold yourself back from. Jupiter in Cancer can feel the difference between a move made from genuine readiness and a move made from fear of being left behind. It can feel the difference between a goal that truly belongs to you and one you've borrowed from someone else's version of success. And today, as it moves direct, it begins amplifying what is real. This is why some people will experience this portal as an immediate surge, because what they've been building is built on genuine emotional foundations, and some people will feel a strange stillness instead of a rush, not because they missed the portal, but because Jupiter is waiting for them to drop the performance before it pours in. The question this moment is asking you is a quiet one, not what are you chasing, but what do you actually want? Not the achievement, not the outcome, the feeling, the life, the truth underneath the goal. Answer that honestly, even just to yourself right now, and Jupiter in Cancer will know exactly where to direct what belongs to you. The fourth thing is the home that's finally ready to receive you. There is a very specific group of people who are about to exhale for the first time in months. And if you've been feeling displaced, emotionally, physically, or in ways you can't quite name, this section is directly for you. Cancer rules home. Not just the physical structure you live in, but the deeper sense of belonging, the feeling that you are in the right place, surrounded by the right people, living a life that actually fits who you are right now. And during the retrograde, for a lot of people, that sense of belonging was under review. Relationships that used to feel like home started feeling like obligation. Living situations that made sense before started feeling quietly misaligned. Family dynamics that had been calm for years began resurfacing. And the inner question, the one you didn't always voice out loud, was something like, where do I actually belong? Jupiter retrograde in Cancer was pulling back what no longer qualified as home so that you could recognize what does. That process is complete now. What Jupiter direct in Cancer brings is not just forward motion in your external life. It's the return of a feeling, the feeling of rightness, of genuine fit, of belonging to something and somewhere that makes sense for the person you are right now. Not the person you used to be, not the person you think you should be, but the actual current version of you. For some, this will show up as a relationship deepening into something more honest and secure. For others, it's a living situation finally resolving, a move, a decision, a long overdue clarity about where home actually is. For others still, it's an internal shift, the moment you stop feeling like a stranger inside your own life. Home isn't always a place. Jupiter in Cancer understands that better than any other placement. And what it's doing today is returning you to yourself, to the emotional space that is yours, that no one can take from you, that was always waiting for you to come back to it. And right here, before we go deeper, it's time for today's comment of the day. I stopped explaining myself to people who weren't ready to understand me. That landed, because that's exactly what this Jupiter in Cancer cycle has been asking of you. The courage to stop shrinking your truth to fit someone else's comfort. When you stop justifying the version of yourself that's still becoming, you stop sending your energy into places that were never meant to hold you. Jupiter direct rewards that kind of quiet, grounded courage more than almost anything else. Thank you for sharing that. Someone out there needed to hear those exact words today. The fifth thing is what Jupiter at 15 degrees Cancer is specifically unlocking. Most people are tracking the fact that Jupiter is going direct. Almost nobody is paying attention to exactly where in Cancer this is happening. And the specific degree matters far more than most people realize. Jupiter stations direct today at exactly 15 degrees and 5 minutes of Cancer. And that placement is not random. 15 degrees is the precise midpoint of any zodiac sign. The degree that represents the sign's most concentrated, most mature, most fully developed energy. Not the beginning of Cancer, where the energy is new and still finding its shape. Not the final degrees, where it's completing its expression. The exact middle, where every quality of the sign is operating at its fullest strength simultaneously. What does that mean for you? At 15 degrees Cancer, the qualities being unlocked aren't surface level. This isn't Jupiter activating the outward, familiar face of Cancerian energy. This is Jupiter activating the deep interior gifts, the intuition that moves faster than logic, the emotional intelligence that reads a situation before a single word is spoken, the inner knowing that has been quietly pointing you in a direction for months, the one you may have been second-guessing. At 15 degrees Cancer, Jupiter is working directly with the most powerful navigational tool you possess, your felt sense of truth. This is the part of you that doesn't need a detailed plan to know when something is right. The part that sensed a situation was off long before any external evidence confirmed it. The part that has been quietly building a picture of the life you're actually meant for, not through analysis but through feeling. Jupiter direct at this exact degree is delivering one clear instruction. Trust that. Stop waiting for your thinking mind to catch up to what your instincts have already mapped out. The accuracy you've been doubting is the very faculty Jupiter is now ready to amplify. Your inner knowing isn't a soft skill. At 15 degrees Cancer, it's your most reliable compass, and Jupiter just gave it a full charge. The sixth thing you must know is the spring equinox effect, why the timing right now is rare. What almost nobody is talking about today is what's arriving 9 days from now. On March 20th, 2026, the Sun enters Aries and the spring equinox arrives. In astronomical terms, it's the moment when day and night reach perfect balance before light begins to dominate. In astrological terms, it's the most powerful reset of the entire year, the beginning of a new solar cycle, the ignition point of Aries energy, the moment where forward motion accelerates across every area of life. And Jupiter is going direct 9 days before that. That is not a coincidence. That is a deliberate setup. Here's why the specific timing matters. Jupiter direct energy doesn't fully peak the moment the planet changes direction. It builds. The planet comes out of its station slowly, gaining forward speed over the days that follow, which means the full force of Jupiter's forward momentum won't arrive today. It will peak in the days ahead, compounding as it builds. Which means that by the time the spring equinox lands on March 20th, Jupiter direct energy will be running at full power, and it will merge with the strongest new beginning energy of the entire astrological year. Two engines of forward motion activating simultaneously. This 9-day window between Jupiter going direct and the spring equinox is one of the most uncommon accelerators available anywhere in 2026. Decisions made inside this window don't carry ordinary intention. They carry the combined momentum of two simultaneous forces pointed in the same direction. Directions you choose here don't just begin. They build traction at a speed that ordinary timing can't replicate. This isn't an invitation to rush. It's an invitation to be honest about what you've been quietly waiting to begin. Whatever has been sitting in the waiting room of your life, almost ready, nearly launched, close, but not yet started, this is the window it was waiting for. The alignment is rarely this precise, and it's already moving. The seventh thing is the March 11th master number portal, what the date itself is doing. There is one more layer to today that goes beyond astrology entirely. And while some people will dismiss this as coincidence, the ones who have been paying attention to how these things line up will recognize it immediately. March 11th carries the master number 11. In numerology, 11 is not treated the same way as ordinary numbers. It's classified as a master number, a number that operates at an elevated frequency, carrying significance beyond what single digits convey. While most numbers ground energy in practical, tangible experience, master number 11 functions as something different. It operates as a bridge, a channel between ordinary perception and a higher form of clarity. Across numerological traditions, 11 has consistently been described as the intuition portal, the number of spiritual awakening, the number of enlightenment and heightened perception. When 11 appears, it signals a moment where things that were blurry sharpen into focus, where the direction you've been uncertain about suddenly reveals itself, where the version of yourself that you're growing into becomes clearly visible in a way it wasn't before. When 11 appears as a date, it amplifies everything happening in that energetic moment. And what is happening in this moment is Jupiter, the planet of expansion, abundance, wisdom, and growth, ending a 4-month retrograde in the sign where it is most powerful. The master number 11 isn't a backdrop to today. It's an amplifier layered directly on top of one of the most significant astrological stations of 2026. What this means in practical terms, the insights that surface today, the clarity that lands unexpectedly, the emotional recognitions that rise up quietly, they carry unusual weight. A realization on an ordinary day is meaningful. A realization today on a master number 11 portal on the exact day Jupiter stations direct in its exaltation in Cancer. That's the kind of clarity that changes the direction of months. Pay attention to what you feel today, not what you think, not what seems logical, what you feel, what rises in you in the quiet moments, what your body already knows before your mind has formed the words. When the planet of expansion meets the number of awakening, what arrives isn't luck, it's clarity. And clarity, landing in the right moment, changes everything. The eighth thing is what Jupiter direct in Cancer is asking you to do now. Now that you understand what shifted today, what the 4 months just completed were actually building, and what this specific window holds, there's one question that matters more than any forecast, any astrological interpretation, or any prediction. Not the grand transformation, not the complete life overhaul. Jupiter in Cancer doesn't respond to forced urgency, and it doesn't reward actions made from performance. What it responds to is the quiet, grounded, emotionally truthful decision that you have been standing in front of for a while. The one you already know is right, but that you've been waiting for some external confirmation to finally make. This is that confirmation. Jupiter direct in Cancer is asking you to move forward because you are genuinely ready, not because you're afraid of falling behind someone else's timeline. It's asking you to take the next step because it truly aligns with who you actually are right now, not because external pressure is making you feel late to something. That distinction matters more than you might expect. Some of you need to have the conversation you've been circling for weeks. Some of you need to make the decision about where, or with whom, you truly belong. Some of you need to return to something you quietly set down during the retrograde, not because you gave up on it, but because it needed to rest while you were being rebuilt. Whatever it is for you, it doesn't need to be large. It needs to be honest. Because that's the only thing Jupiter in Cancer will multiply. What is genuinely true for you right now, at this specific point in your story, from this current version of yourself. Anything forced will feel like pushing against a current. But the move that comes from real emotional alignment, the one that's yours in the truest sense, that one, Jupiter will carry further and faster than anything you could engineer on your own. You don't need every answer before you move. You don't need certainty or a perfectly prepared plan. You need one thing, the willingness to take the step that is genuinely, honestly yours. The portal is open. The energy is built. The timing is exact. And so are you. If you've stayed here until now, thank you. Not just for watching, but for the quality of attention that takes. The willingness to slow down enough to actually feel something rather than scroll past it. That quality of presence, the ability to sit with depth rather than skim its surface, is exactly what Jupiter in Cancer recognizes and rewards. Today doesn't ask you to figure everything out. It doesn't require a plan, a declaration, or a perfectly organized vision of what comes next. What it's asking is something quieter and something far more powerful than any of that. Simply to be honest with yourself about what you want, what you're ready for, and what you've been carrying that was never actually yours to hold. 4 months of inward movement brought you to this exact point. And the fact that you're here, that this found you today, says something real about where you are in your own story. The momentum that begins forming now is the kind that builds quietly, but eventually moves what once seemed immovable. It won't always appear dramatic from the outside. Jupiter in Cancer works in the deep places first, in the quality of how you feel when you wake up, in the slow return of genuine peace, in the quiet confidence that begins replacing the doubt that's been speaking too loudly for too long. Let that be enough for today. Let the shift be quiet if it needs to be. Let the beginning look small if that's what it looks like. Because the door isn't just open. You built it. And today, Jupiter simply reminded you. You already have the key. Whatever arrives in the days ahead, carry yourself with the knowledge that something real changed today. Not around you, in you. And that kind of change has no expiration date.